topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, and I'm super thrilled to be here with y'all. So I want to thank you. Today is my gratitude day, and I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to this show and being part of this show. Not only that, reaching out to us and telling us what is it that you want and what kind of experts we can bring, what stories we can bring, what tools, techniques, motivation, and inspiration we can bring to you. So thank you for being part of our family. And I want to share something very beautiful that happened. So I was in a store, and one person was talking with the cashier, and she said, "Oh, what is that green pot about?" And she said, "Oh, it's a chia seed grower." And this woman had already paid for everything, and she had a couple of young kids, and they were crying. And then as she was walking out, I bought that chia seed. It is a small thing, and that was my kindness act for that week. And I had her just kind of put it in a nice wrapping paper. It was just, she had a wrapping paper lying there. And as the woman was reaching out, as she was getting for the door, I just said, I just wanted to share this with you because I saw that you had already paid up, and this is the chia seed which you can grow with your kids. And just the smile that broke on her face was so amazing. It was priceless. So, as always, I'm going to invite you and highly encourage you to do one small kind act. Any small random kind act you can do, or you can even smile at someone, and that can be counted as a kind act too. So give that time to people throughout the month with no strings attached. And also, for those of you who have not bought our books, please get our books. And I want to thank each and every one of you who have got the books. Expert to Influencer is going to help you become that influencer, just like a rising tide that lifts all boats. And not only grow your business, but create meaningful impact. And the Entrepreneur's Garden, whether you're a professional, leader, architect, financial planner, or a business owner, it will help you build those healthy relationships with results, with money, those relationships that stop you or that become the obstacles from having you live the life you deserve. So get those books, and let's hear from you. How did those books help you out? And the reason we share our books on the show is because partial profits from our books go to kiva.org. And together, we are making difference one tiny step at a time. So let's invite our guest. Welcome, Sara.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. Usually, we start out at the childhood. Do you have a moment from your childhood, or do you have a person that left a mark on you?
From my childhood. Well, I do remember having wonderful friends during my childhood. I would have to say, yes, there were many wonderful teachers that
Hmm.
really made a mark on me and made me feel really valued because I grew up at a time in this country when there were very, very few Asians. In an elementary school out of 600 children, my sister and I were it for girls, so two of us, and there was only one little boy, Asian boy. So the teachers really, really made me feel very accepted and appreciated and valued. Um, I mean, can you imagine what it's like? Every child you look at, they don't look like you.
Well, that's a very poignant story, that the part that teachers play in our lives. And of course, I want to thank them, because teachers are the ones who help us shape the next generation always, and creating leaders of tomorrow. So that's what a beautiful story of sharing. And if listeners, any one of you are teachers in our today and listening, we thank you. So as you grew up, where did your interest take you?
I was a very creative little girl, and I also I listened to this voice inside of me, and I didn't realize until I got much, much older that that little voice inside me. Everybody has this voice. It's some people call it the divine voice, but I think this voice guided me throughout my life, and I didn't realize it was this divine voice guiding me. And I was very blessed to have siblings and being very close to my younger sister. And when you're the older sister, the younger sister looks up to you, and you're always together. And we were always together. Uh, and again, because we grew up in this country at a time when there were very, very few Asian Americans, the family unit was very, very close. We did everything together as a family. That became my world, is my family, and then friends. But my family was my world, and I would say that I was straddling two worlds. At home, living in the values that my parents were raised in. They were both immigrants. They came from mainland China. And then when went out of the house, I'm living now in America. So straddling those two worlds, the Chinese values at home, and then going outside into the world,
Mhm.
America.
So, what would you say? I'm sure there were still some common values in there. So, if you can share with us one or two values that were common and one or two values that were different but helped you grow as a person.
Well, I think working hard, I think that is a value in America too, to work hard. And I would say the value of respect. I mean, I think in America, we understand respect for one another, um, and being rewarded for your hard work.
Mhm.
Being rewarded for your hard work. That is one of the beauties of capitalism, that you do get compensated. If you work hard, it's your own company, you're going to get rewarded. Uh, and so I would say working hard is also a very, very strong value in the Asian culture, to always be diligent and work hard. And I would say one of the strengths of the American values is individualism, because that is not a strong strength in the Asian culture. It's more kind of family unit, we. I would say in America, that is one of the values, strong values, individualism, that you can strike out on your own. You can create a business. You can do that. And you go forward with your confidence in what it is you want to create. And you have to obviously work hard to do it.
Mhm. So, you mentioned that you were a very creative child. So, as you grew up, Which direction did your life take you? Was it in creativity or?
Creativity. I ended up, well, let me say this. I grew up in a family, very smart siblings. This is how smart my siblings were or are. I have a younger sister. She skipped twice. So then she caught up with me. And then I have a younger brother. He skipped a grade. So I have my younger sister and my younger brother. They both same grade level with me. So three of us, same grade. So I learned at a very young age, don't compare yourself to anyone. Don't compare yourself. The only person you should be competing with is yourself. Yourself. So I was trying to figure out, okay, when we all started to make our choices about what college we wanted to go to and what career path we wanted to pursue, even though I did well in the academics, I knew that that wasn't the path I wanted to take because, as you acknowledge, I had this creative spirit. So I ended up going to BU, School of Fine Arts. Now, what's funny about this, in high school, I didn't even have an art class. Is that not funny? And I pursued a degree in fine arts because I knew that I had this creative spirit. And that's what I ended up doing. I pursued a degree in fine arts at Boston University. And I had to put together a portfolio. I had to do all these designs, create all these wonderful designs. And that was part of my application. So can you imagine not having a class in art in high school at all? And I pursue a degree in arts. Is that kind of funny? I think it's kind of funny.
Well, actually, I think so. It's very inspiring. So here you are. You knew that you were a creative and you found your way at a very early age. So you knew where you were going, what you wanted to do. So that's great. So once you graduated in creative arts, where did your life take you?
Well, when I graduated, so I noticed now, are you able to hear me? Because I think your producer there is saying I'm breaking up a little bit. I'm so sorry. Is it a clear line now? Yes? It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually, when I graduated from college, I had a passion for pottery, doing pottery. And it was really, really bad. This is how bad it was. I worked 4 jobs to support my pottery passion. Can you imagine that? Working 4 jobs to support your pottery passion? However, I'm also a realist on some level, and I asked myself this question. After about a year doing this, I said, okay, could I see myself doing this for the next 5 years? And how many pots do I have to make to pay the rent? And so I came up with the resounding, no, you can't do this for the next 5 years. Too many pots to make to pay the rent. No, you can't do
Mhm.
this. So I literally stopped and I said, okay, I have to find a new path.
And what was the new passion?
Well, it wasn't so much a new passion. What happened was I was introduced to the opportunity to be a receptionist at a radio station. Now, what's kind of funny about this is I volunteered to help a radio station do some mailings, and I literally was filling in these folders. I was doing a mailing for them and boxes of envelopes that I had to stuff. So I'm stuffing all these envelopes, and because I did such a good job, they thought, well, let's recommend her to be a receptionist at a radio station. And that opportunity is what introduced me to the media. And
Hmm.
so from there, I began to think about a new path for myself. And so the new path I decided on was being a talk show host because I have a very curious mind and I like to listen to people. I like to hear their stories. And that's what led me into this whole path in the media as a talk show host, doing something similar to what you're doing. So I did that. I did a radio show, and then I ended up being a reporter 10 years for an NBC affiliate in Boston.
Oh, congratulations. So, what I'm hearing, Sarah, is that you gave it a shot to your passion. You just didn't like, oh, I'm going to go down the realistic path and just keep on wondering for the rest of my life, what if I had done that? So, you dabbled in it, and yet you were cognizant that, okay, am I willing to do so many jobs to sell those pots, and like assessing the situation? And when you assessed it, that was not for you. So there is no right or wrong path for anyone. As the listeners are listening, the key is see what is right for you and do your best. And I love, like, how your life evolved and like doing the talk shows. So once you finished the talk shows, where did you head?
So I went from radio into TV, and
Hmm.
TV. So I was at a crossroad because I had to decide whether I wanted to pursue radio or television, and
Hmm.
I decided to pursue TV. And it was interesting because the opportunity did it didn't fall in my lap. It came to me because of steps I took. And what I did was in Boston, there's a program called Asian Focus. And I realized, well, the only person who can be a host for Asian Focus has to be Asian. And so I said, let me reach out to the station and say, if she's sick and you need a fill in, I'm available. So they said, that's great that you called us. They said, why don't you submit your resume and we'll keep it on file.
Hmm.
And then next thing I know, a couple of months later, they called me up and they said, we have an opening for a reporter's position. Would you like to do that? I said I would love to. So I came in to do an interview, and I knew within 5 minutes that the job was mine. I just had a feeling that the job was mine. So for the next 10 years, I did this TV show. I was
Oh,
a reporter.
fantastic.
I was a reporter. It was a public affairs show. And what I loved about the opportunity is that I got to do my own stories. They
Mm.
didn't tell me I got to do my own stories. And my whole focus was to look for solutions to problems, not just say, well, here's a problem, goodbye. It was look for solutions to problems. So identify what the problem is, and here's a solution. Here's an organization that's solving this problem. I loved it. It was really, for me, a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to develop my skills as a reporter, but more importantly, to put out information to benefit the community, to uplift, empower, and enlighten the community. And I loved the opportunity. It kind of came to an end because the program decided to end the field reporting, and it was all in studio interviews. So
Mm.
simultaneously, while I was doing that, because I was a freelance reporter, I also founded a nonprofit. And so then
So
I came
Sarah,
to,
that's
yes.
what a journey. So tell us, like, I really like what you mentioned, identifying the problem and coming up with a solution. And that's one of the things, especially when I'm working with a lot of my clients, and they will say, oh, this person complained to me. Or let's say if it's a corporate leader, so I work with leaders and entrepreneurs, and they'll say, oh, this person came and complained. I said, okay, how about if you go and ask them, yep, you feel free to complain, fine, come with a solution so that we can solve it. So think outside the box, or think how it will solve, because I alone cannot solve everything. So I love that. So tell us a couple of stories as to which ones you covered during that time where you showcased the solutions that were happening.
Well, I have to show you, there were two stories that I was interviewing people who I would say broke barriers. So, for example, there was an attorney. He was the first Asian partner of a major law firm on the East Coast, the first. And I loved the interview with him. I loved how he was so authentic and honest. And I'll never forget, he was telling a story of how his father helped him move into Harvard University, undergraduate. And then his father said to him, let's go for a walk. So Bill Lee says, okay. And then the father says to him, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Now, his father at the time, an engineer. So Bill said he wanted to be an engineer, just like his father, solve these big problems as an engineer, right? So his father kind of nods and says, good. He said, now you do know being an engineer, you have to be a deep thinker. So Bill goes, yeah. Divya, he said, the father says to the son, you are not a deep thinker. You are not a deep thinker. And so the son, because he has so much respect for his father, says, okay. So he figures out okay, so I shouldn't pursue a degree in engineering. Then he decides to go into law, usually successful, and becomes a partner at a major law firm. So he had to identify for himself, what is the right career path for me? And obviously he respected his father. So he listened and he took the guidance from his father. Now, another story that I remember, this was at the height of the AIDS epidemic. And I interviewed a young Filipino who had AIDS. So now, for those of us who are familiar with the Asian culture, we kind of know that we kind of don't like to air our private family issues
Right.
or matters. We like to keep everything within the family, not talk to anyone about it, let alone get on TV and tell the whole world about your problem. So he was willing to talk about being a person with AIDS.
Mm.
He was willing to help the Asian community open up and be willing to talk about some of these critical, in this particular case, health issue. So he tells a story how he walked into a room where there were about 200 people with AIDS. It's a support group. He walks in the room and he looks around and he goes, oh, come on, I can't be the only Asian with AIDS. I mean, it was a very poignant interview, and he unfortunately passed away. I found out later on. However, he did something really wonderful for the Asian community. He was willing to be very open and honest with what he had and to help the Asian community understand in order to deal with some of these health issues, serious health issues, you have to feel comfortable to talk about it and be open with it. Obviously, with the appropriate people. But in this particular issue, it was important for the Asian community to understand this is not an issue, health issue, that's just affecting one group. There might be some people in your community facing it.
So he made it more, he normalized it. He made it
Yes.
more, yeah. So that is,
the stigma, took away the stigma.
yeah, took away the stigma and trying to bring it, to make it mainstream.
Right.
So when we're talking about community, I know you've written a poem. So can you recite that poem for us? Because I know it has had a huge impact.
Yes, thank you. It's called The Sun. Are you greater than the sun that shines on everyone? Black, brown, yellow, red, and white. The sun does not discriminate.
Beautiful. So what inspired you to write that poem?
Thank you for that question. It actually came out of a journey that I was on back in the late 70s. I was on this journey to understand the meaning of God. In life, we have three camps of people. There are those who believe God exists, those who don't believe God exists, and those who are not sure. So I was one of those people who wasn't sure. And I thought, okay, I thought this is going to be easy. All I have to do is find a place of worship to learn about God. It was not an easy journey. Now remember, this was at a time in Boston where there were not many Asians. Like pretty much wherever I went, I was the only one. So here I go into church Sunday morning, and I'm the newcomer, and I'm hoping someone might say good morning, hello, welcome. Not one single word was said to me. It was like I was invisible. Well, I thought there are many other places of worship, so I'll just try another one. I went to another place of worship. Same thing happened again. So I went to a couple of different places. Then I thought to myself, all right, well, I'll go across the river to Cambridge. I go to another place, and the music is absolutely divine. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe this has what I'm looking for. It didn't. And again, nobody said a single word to me. So I go across the river again. I came to another place of worship where it was mostly elderly people, about 12. And it didn't look like this place was going to be around too much longer. So I left. And then I made this decision. I said, I'm going to go back into Boston. And I'm a friendly person. I can do the outreaching. So I go back into Boston, and there was about 200 people. This was a huge place of worship. And at the end of the service, I look around and I see this couple, and I introduced myself and I said, how long have you been coming here? They said, many years. And I told them, well, this is my first time here, hoping that we would have an engaging, warm conversation. But no, it was just a polite conversation, and they walked away.
Mm.
So at this point, I'm feeling so dejected. I'm feeling like this is not going well. And I remember the day so well. Gray New England day. I even remember what I was wearing. Can you believe this was over 50 years ago? My hair at the time came down to my waist. I had this white beret on, dark velvet maroon coat tied at the waist. The bus came, and I stepped on the bus, and I don't remember seeing any passengers. As I sat down in my seat, the sun's rays came shining through the window. I felt the warmth of the sun, and it literally just filled me up. And then I heard this calm male voice say to me, Sarah, I don't just shine on you, I shine on everyone.
Ah.
And then the poem was born. Are you greater than the sun that shines on everyone? Black, brown, yellow, red, and white. The sun does not discriminate. Now, Divya, that poem was written in a personal journal. It was never meant to be public. So, of course, you're going to ask me, well, what happened, Sarah? In the journal. Well, how did it get from a journal to billboards? Good question. Well, at the time, I had a dear friend who was a billboard representative. And at the time, I was convinced by another poet to write a collection of poems and put it together in a book. So I got excited about this, and I shared it with my friend, Divya. She was so moved by the poem, she said, Sarah, I can put this up on billboards. I said, what? Now, at the time, I have to tell you, Boston was going through court order desegregation of the schools.
Mm.
There was still some racial tension and turmoil in Boston. And so when she saw this poem, she was moved by it, and she saw the power and the value of it to help bring some unity and harmony to the city. So she put it up on billboards. I was astonished. I was amazed. And so then now I'm thinking, well, maybe we should get some media attention on this. So I go to a TV station and I say, hey, would you like to do a story on this? They said, well, no, but you know what we can do? We can reduce that poem into a public service announcement. So then I said, oh, okay, great. So then I said, well, there's more than one TV station here, so let's take it to the other two. So it got aired on all 3 TV stations. And then I thought, well, if it can be up on billboards, well, let's see if we get into the mass transit. So it took off. This campaign, the poem was everywhere. Then it took off in New York City. I went to New York City. Billboards and the network, CBS and NBC, network TV aired it. Fast forward, the poem got put on 60 digital billboards across the nation, 60, including Little Rock, Arkansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And
Wow.
as you know, WGBH, NPR, All Things Considered, did a wonderful interview with me about this Sun poem. Because here in Boston, the Boston City Council, second time, they passed a resolution. They recognized this poem as a powerful tool to ignite change. Because the bottom line is there are no laws, policies, or technology that can remove the bias from the person. If I have a bias, who's responsible for removing my bias? Who? Divya.
You.
Exactly. But I hate to tell you this, some people don't know the answer to that question.
Well, it's also the thing to talk about is that so many people don't even know that they have biases. And that's where, like, we talk about unconscious biases. So let's say, and, as they say, birds of the same feather flock together.
Exactly.
What they have known is passed down from generation to generation. And when we come from a place to understand, doesn't matter who it is, like, from whether anybody's from this country or from other country or other race or whatever color, is like just understanding each other, that where are we coming from and bringing that kindness into the fold, that can make a huge difference. And sometimes it may take a long time to change, but the key is, like, as you mentioned, is just to continue doing your share and keeping that love going, because we don't know until we step into somebody else's shoes, what are they experiencing, what are they feeling, what's going through their mind and hearts. So as a human being, looking at people, they're humans, and passing on kindness. So this is wonderful. As you said, it took a lot of steam. So tell us what else is on the horizon for you and where is it going?
Well, thank you. And you're so right in saying human being. So that poem inspired the vision to build a permanent landmark. We have a design concept that was secured through a design competition with the Boston Architectural College. So we have this beautiful design, and it's been accepted to be part of the development in Dorchester called Dorchester Bay City Development. So this beautiful symbol that will showcase the poem has been accepted to be part of this development. And the poem,
Congratulations.
yes, and the poem has also been turned into a song called We All See the Stars. And it was performed at the United Nations by children in 2015. The children loved this song. In fact, one teacher, when she was going to teach the younger children the song, half the classroom knew it because their siblings taught them the song. Their siblings taught them. And so our vision is to build this landmark and also to plant the poem and the song not just in America, but in the world. The world. In fact, one child said, one day the world will hear this song and it will stop discrimination. That's how
Mm.
powerful she felt it was. And another young boy said, when he sings it, it makes him feel like he can do anything. Oh, and by the way, the campaign of the billboards, the digital billboards, 2023, that was the second year we kicked off the national campaign. The first time we did it was in 2021. And the president of one billboard company said, keep up your amazing mission. The world needs this. His words, not mine. The world needs this. To your point that you made, so many of us are unaware that we have some biases. And as you say, unfortunately, sometimes it gets passed down from generation to generation. What people don't realize is when you overcome your biases, you grow. You widen your circle of friends, and your life can be richer in ways you never imagined. You never imagined. So there's so many blessings that come out of overcoming your biases that you don't realize. But we have to be willing to be uncomfortable because to work over on your bias, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable. That's what growth is about. That's
Hmm.
what growth is about.
Bringing that awareness to yourself, and also knowing that each and every one of us, no matter how much work we have done on ourselves, we will still have biases, because brain is designed to survive, not to thrive. And we as human beings have a choice to step up our game, to up level ourselves. So, one of the simple things that I'll share is I moved from a very big state to a smaller state. And when I came in, I found some resistance, not in the sense, in any way that it was like, oh, you are who you are or anything like that, but like, oh, gosh, we have this beautiful place, a lot of trees, and like, everything is being cut down. And all these buildings are coming and happening because people are moving in. So first I was a little like, okay, what's happening here? And then when I opened up, I started to realize where they were coming from. Because here it is a beautiful city with wonderful trees and all that. And now, because there's influx of people, trees are being cut down and the natural habitat is going. And here's what I'll say, that few years into, or maybe like, like 10, 15 years later, I was driving down and I was thinking, gosh, all these people who are coming from outside. So it's not only the generation, the biases are so complicated and complex that it's important to understand that it's our environment that can shape us. It can be our friends, it can be the societal events that happen. So, for example, let's say there's a big event that happens, pandemic that happened, it impacted the whole humanity. So, just understanding that and keeping yourself open and curious and bringing in love and kindness, that's, and as you said, being uncomfortable with the growth, very powerful.
Yeah, no, I love what you shared. It's about being curious, and it's all about self-awareness. Only you know what's going on with you. Only you know when you're uncomfortable, and use that as a sign, like, oh, so maybe I'm experiencing something, a growth opportunity here. I mean, we always have two choices. When we're feeling uncomfortable, we can retreat, or we can go work through it. And obviously, it's up to the person at the time, because it's true. Sometimes we're not ready to grow, and that's okay. So if you want to retreat, but what I guarantee everybody this, whatever you run away from, it's always going to catch up with you. You can never totally, whatever it is that you feel uncomfortable with, it's always going to be there until you're willing to go through it, work through it.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, since you have worked on it so expansively, I want to thank you for all your work you have done for people across. And it's so important to have that vision and mission. So, if our listeners were interested, how could they support you with your vision and mission?
Well, thank you so much for asking that. I mean, the website, I put it in the chat box. Number one, the simplest thing people can do is just to share the website, just share it. And the work we do is getting the song out there to children, and all that takes time and money. So if you want to make a small donation, there are millions of children who don't even know the song exists, and they love this song. The ones who learned it, they love it. And this is a simple way of planting the seeds in the next generation through a song. And I cannot tell you how much the children love the song. So think of it this way. Anyone who has children, go to the website. It's all free. You can register for the song. You can bring it to your schools and say, hey, could you please teach our children the song? And for those of you who want to make the world a better place for the next children, please make a small donation. It is about it. The children are depending on you and me. We're supposed to make the world a better place for them. And
Mhm.
God bless you, Divya, for your wonderful program and bringing on speakers to help the greater community, to help all of us learn how to be better human beings, because that is the bottom line. It's about being a better human being. And when you're a better human being, you will be successful in your relationships, in your company. When you're a better, who doesn't want like to be next to a good human being? Who doesn't want to work with a good human being? Who doesn't want to be working under the leadership of a good human being? It's so simple, right?
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, who doesn't want to be a better human being? And the website is World Unity, INC, worldunityinc.org. So, yeah, definitely share the message of peace and kindness, because at the end of the day, always remember, every human being has aspirations, dreams, and pains and aches, just like any other human being. So if we were to remove everything, if we were to just kind of close our eyes and, like, let's say if we sat in a circle and talked without looking at each other, we would know that everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants better things for the kids. Everybody wants to have a lifestyle that they can be proud of. Everybody wants to be a better version of themselves. So let's all come together, make a difference, and create an impact. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Divya. God bless you for all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And blessings to you too as well. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us today. And thank you, listeners, because without you, the show would not be possible. So appreciate you. And reach out to us. Let us know what you think. What else could we bring for you so that you can live the life you deserve? And thank you, Juan, for all the technical support. Until next time, be well and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.